Good morning and welcome. This Monday means business, but mostly Malud here in the part of the world. I'm Kayode Okikulu. You're welcome to the Morning Brief.
And yes, Monday opens with the opportunity for a fresh start, new beginnings. They may be bumpy, but they're new all the same. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief. I'm Bukola Koka.
And happy holidays to all of us who are still at home. Our job, we will be here to do it and bring you all the information that you require, as well as track everything within the polity to make sure you're quite informed as much as possible. Welcome. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma.
Jeffrey, is that joy I hear in your voice?
I don't know.
Is that excitement I hear in your voice?
Well, whatever it is, we're here. We got to do what we have to do.
So a quick guide to Eid al-Malud, because for non-Muslims, they might be wondering, do I ask for meat today or not? No, this is not the day where you ask for ram. This is not the meat day. This is a celebration of the birth of Prophet Muhammad, okay? So you need to approach with caution. What you do today, rather than ask for meat, is even give gifts, because that's how we do in this part of the world. When someone gives birth, you're meant to celebrate them by giving them gifts. I don't know if you want to give diapers, that might be out of place, but just look out for people you can show love to. That is a guide for non-Muslims. Eid al-Malud celebrates, commemorates the birth of Prophet Muhammad. All right, so, sorry, no meat today. Come back next time.
Well, since it's a day of giving gifts, you just might want to, show some kind gesture and give Kadi a gift today. Maybe Jeffrey a gift. In celebration of the day, it's a day of showing love and, of course, honoring the principles or dictates, if you like, that the Holy Prophet lived by, right?
What happens to giving Bukola gifts?
Well, if they decide to.
Wow.
But I'm just being selfless. I'm, showing example.
I have nothing to say about that. I'm open to anything.
Right.
It's fine. We're all Nigerians, so we're one country, citizens of the great country, Nigeria.
Absolutely.
And we totally enjoy it. There's a lot of unity in diversity. Whatever you subscribe to in terms of your deity and your faith is all welcome. Our constitution protects and provides for it. At the end of the day, it's for us to be able to live in peace and enjoy the great nation called Nigeria. Guys?
So should we wait or get into it, guys?
It's up to you. It's up to you if you want us to
Let's just dive deep, but I need to just give a preamble. Nigerians love football, right? We would say we're a footballing nation. Whether or not you agree, the debate is out there. But there's another sport Nigerians need to pay attention to because they've been playing or being played in this sport, and that's ping pong. You know how ping pong is? Back and forth. And that's what it is with the petrol price. NNPC Limited, Dangote Refineries Limited. This past few hours have been quite intense between the NNPC Limited and Dangote Refinery Limited on the issue of pricing. It was first on quality, timing, when they will start loading. Now it is about pricing. NNPC Limited says, well, we got the product for 898 naira from Dangote. Dangote Refinery says, no, we're selling based on the dollar price that we got the crude in the first place. So Nigerians wait for the technical committee by the federal government before we decide on a price. So this is what NNPC Limited put out, right? A couple of things. They put out a breakdown of the price of petrol, and they say that this is based on what they got from Dangote Refinery. So if we could just show them what the pricing table looks like according to the NNPC Limited. We'll start with that, then we'll now show you what the mapping according to NNPC Limited looks like, and then what Dangote Refineries Limited said. So there you have it, guys.
And Kadi and Jeffrey, we should ask questions because prior to this time, NNPCL had adjusted prices to reflect that in all their stations, petrol will be sold for 858 naira per litre in Lagos, and then all other marketers would, sell according to how they were able to purchase the product. Now, upon purchase from a Dangote refinery, which Nigerians had been waiting for, following that announcement by the technical committee that petrol will be sold to NNPCL only, as the only off-taker, and then NNPCL would pay, give Dangote refinery crude oil from October the 1st. This adjustment has come through, which reflects that you will be buying petrol from all NNPCL stations in Lagos at 950 naira per litre. That's according to the breakdown. So is petrol purchased from outside Nigeria, imported, cheaper than that produced by a domestic manufacturer? So this is the question that we should ask NNPCL. If it is, then why is it so? Jeffrey?
You know, you already know I don't trust the NNPCL when it comes to what they say. I think that is not hidden. The reason is because of their inconsistency in their communication. And when they even say the truth, sometimes it's difficult to believe, because one day Shene will say this, another day he will say that. Not brutally honest sometimes, but we're happy this ping pong is revealing everything. So this is, I don't even want to go to this detail. I don't even want to get into this, but what I will tell Nigerians is, it's important you pay attention to what goes on within the NNPCL and the oil sector. The reason is simple. If anything goes wrong, we're cooked. Because from the Q2 report we've seen from the MBS, although there's something we call money illusion in economics, which necessarily doesn't mean that money is made, but a few other things played out to make the money look big. We're going to talk about that later on. The truth is that our export numbers increased in terms of trade surplus, but what was responsible was oil. Crude oil was responsible about 74%. That means that it's 74% of how you earn your money. If anything happens to it, you are done with. Which is why you need to pay attention to the NNPCL, need to pay attention to the oil and gas sector, because at least for now, if anything goes wrong. So that's why there's a bit of politics in all of this as well, corporate politics. First, it started with the corporate politics of quality. NNPCL came out and said, and the NNDPL came out and said the quality of petrol coming out from, diesel it was, coming out from Dangote refinery was not up to standard. Dangote said, okay, let's do the testing. And the testing came out and everybody had the answer. Now it has shifted to price war. So Kayode and Bukola, if you look at how how everybody is positioning their statement, everybody is looking for who to blame as to why the price of fuel. It's a valid question you ask. Does it mean that importing fuel now, the imported products, let's use the word that imported product is, although we know it's an international commodity, does it mean that an imported product is now cheaper than the one we produce here? The experts will be here to answer all of that. But everybody is trying to be clever by half in their statement, somehow. But it also speaks to the fact how the rich fight their battle. I've never seen Dangote fight like this in a long time. It's just an inspiration to all of us who don't have that kind of money to fight for what we think is right and will favor us at the end of the day. NNPC, I'm trying to look for that statement again, where they began to say, look, we don't fix prices. We're not price fixers. Look, if Dangote sells us at this is what it will come to. Dangote initially said, look, we did not, as a people, as a company, we have not said how much we're selling. The federal government will do all of the estimations and explain, and will bring all the details. Now the details are out. So it feels like everybody is waiting to say, who is really responsible for this expensive fuel at the end of the day? Are we still going to have under recovery or shortfall and all of that? So that's why I don't want to go into this detail, because even all of this, you have to look at it with a bit of a clever mind to read in between the lines. If you look at Kayode, if you see what they quoted, that there should be a negotiation between government and the company, that if these people reduce their price, you're going to get, as consumer, 100% of that reduction.
And then you see in that line? Second to the last paragraph, NNPC assures that if a quoted pricing is disputed, it will be grateful for any discount from Dangote refinery, which will be passed on 100% to the general public.
So that is where the politics is.
And Jeffrey, following the first notification by the NNPC that this is the amount it got petrol from Dangote refinery and this is the amount it would sell for, and Dangote issued that first rebuttal. And then NNPCL has come out again, to issue this clarification that this is the amount it got from Dangote refinery, hence this is the amount it would sell for. Dangote refinery owes Nigerians a responsibility for further clarification of how much exactly it sold petrol to its sole off-taker, NNPC Limited, because Dangote had consistently stuck to its position that it is the technical committee that would decide the pricing, and NNPCL has taken the responsibility perhaps now to speak for the technical committee. And it seems as if there's very little accountability in how this pricing has been determined. So perhaps we need more clarification from Dangote Refinery and also from the technical committee, which, announced that decision, for NNPCL to begin to offtake petrol from Dangote Refinery.
So this is what we'll do. We'll start off right away on that note. It's a climax and an anticlimax yet again with petrol in Nigeria. We'll call it ping pong at this point. Now, while trucks are finally loading the product at Dangote Refinery, that's on the one hand. But on the other hand, we've seen the NNPCL and Dangote differing over the loading price. The NNPCL says its trucks cut the product for 898 naira per litre, but Dangote Refinery in turn rejects that statement, asks Nigerians to await the announcement by the federal government's committee. So, where do Nigerians go from here? We'll get someone who is in that sector, right in the middle of it, to give you more insight on the show this morning.
And that's not all. We also will be checking on the economy and the state of your pockets in the light of government's claim that the economic indicators, which were low when President Tinubu assumed office last year, are turning positive. We've seen trade recording a surplus. But how about inflation?
All right, that's not all. Let's get to the reality we don't need to just check. It's in our faces, which is the flood. With flood ravaging Maiduguri and Kaduna states, among other northern states, we check in with the people of Maiduguri and Kaduna to see how they are faring and what to do to prepare for future possibilities. We're tracking everything within that area to bring you up to speed with how far the water has receded, what are the interventions, what is going on, what is not going on. We'll do our best to bring you up to speed.
Absolutely. And we're also bringing in all of your comments and contributions on the show. Just in about 15 minutes thereabouts, we'll be getting right into your comments, all the things that trended over the weekend, from sports, of course, to what you're seeing playing out in the petroleum industry and so much more. Hashtag CTV Morning Brief. That's how to be a part of the conversation. Do it on X and across other social media platforms. You can also drop your comments right now on YouTube for those who are watching live on YouTube. So it's a community show. You are the fourth anchor right here. So let us do this together as we start with the top stories that will form conversations today. Stay with us. Well, top stories on the brief at this hour. We begin with the Cherry news. Almost 2 weeks after rolling out its first premium motor spirit, Dangote Refinery Limited has recorded another major feat with the lifting of its PMS by, the sole offtaker, that's NNPC Limited, from the refinery located in the Bejuleki area of Lagos State. The $20 billion Lekki-based facility is equipped with 86 gantries, making it possible to load 86 trucks simultaneously. The Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister of Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, who led a federal government delegation to the refinery, is calling on domestic refiners to change the narrative and begin legal export of refined petroleum product. But on the flip side, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, says premium motor spirit, also known as petrol, was bought from Dangote Petroleum Refinery at 898 naira per litre. Mr. Olufemi Shone, the Chief Corporate Communications Officer of NNPCL, confirmed the price in a statement yesterday. But in a swift reaction, Dangote Refinery has faulted the claim by NNPCL Limited that it loaded petrol from the refinery at 898 naira per litre. Dangote, in a statement by Anthony Chejina, who's the Group Chief Branding and Communications Officer, described the claims as misleading and mischievous. Now, part of the statement reads, "We urge Nigerians to disregard this malicious statement and await a formal announcement on the pricing by the Technical Subcommittee on Naira-based crude sales to local refineries appointed by President Bola Tinubu, which will commence on October the 1st, bearing in mind that our current stock of crude was procured in dollars." Staying in that sector, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has filed a lawsuit against President Bola Tinubu over what it says is the failure to direct the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited to reverse the apparently unlawful increase in the pump price of petrol and probe the allegations of corruption and mismanagement in NNPCL. Joined in the suit as respondents are the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, and the NNPCL. SERAP is asking the court to compel President Tinubu to direct the NPCL to reverse the unjust, illegal, unconstitutional and unreasonable increase in its words in the price of petrol from 845 naira per litre to 600 naira per litre. And over to the humanitarian situation in Borno State. Now, with the state government still counting the cost of the impact of a flood which caused significant damage to the state capital, many residents are urging donors to help in the efforts to rebuild the city. Hundreds of thousands of people were affected by the flooding, which was caused by a damaged part of the Alau Dam in Kaduna local government area in Borno State. And staying with the Borno flood, the Nigerian Correctional Service has declared 281 inmates missing from the medium security custodial center Maiduguri after the evacuation of inmates by officers of the service with support from sister security agencies. A statement by the service public relations officer, Mr. Abubakar Umar, says the Maiduguri flood brought down the walls of the correctional facilities, including the medium security custodial center Maiduguri, as well as the staff quarters in the city. However, the statement says a total of 7 inmates have been recaptured and returned to custody, while efforts are on to track down the rest and bring them back to safe custody. Well, let's talk about the coming Edo elections. The convener of the National Peace Committee, Bishop Matthew Kuka, is asking candidates and eligible voters in the September 21st election in Edo State to carry out their civic responsibility without violence. Well, Bishop Kuka was speaking as a panelist on election issues and peaceful conduct at the Edo Security Town Hall, organized by Channels Television and its partner, Kimpact Development Initiative at the nation's capital, Abuja. Meanwhile, the police force is reiterating that plans are in top gear to ensure a well-secured election in the state. The Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of Training and Development, Mr. Frank Mba, who was also at the town hall, explains that local vigilantes are not a part of election security and their services are not required during the election. And more stories now. Former President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, former head of state General Abdulsalami Abubakar, and General Ali Gusau visited the former head of state General Ibrahim Babangida at his hilltop residence in Minna, the Niger state capital. Well, the 4 elder statesmen held a closed-door meeting that lasted for about 1 hour, after which Chief Obasanjo left Minna around 6 p.m. yesterday. While the essence of the meeting was not disclosed, Chief Obasanjo, in a statement issued in Belkuta on Sunday night, explained that he visited IBB to felicitate with him on his birthday. Well, let's talk more energy. The federal government has commenced the distribution of compressed natural gas conversion kits under the presidential CNG initiative to some designated locations in Lagos, Kaduna, Oyo, Ogun State, and Abuja. And this is part of the 10,000 kits allocated for distribution to transport associations within the next 1 week, and part of 1 million free CNG conversion kits intended for distribution to commercial vehicles across the 36 states and Abuja within the next 18 months. And out of the fight against drug abuse, operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, have arrested an Ibadan, Oyo State-based businesswoman and an auto parts dealer over attempts to export consignments of opioids and cocaine to London, United Kingdom, and Congo-Brazzaville. A statement by the Director of Media and Advocacy of the agency, Mr. Femi Babafemi, says officers of the agency at the export shed of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, intercepted a cargo containing 924 bottles of codeine-based syrup weighing 135 kilograms and 5,250 tablets of Rohypnol hidden in cartons of foodstuff going to the United Kingdom. The statement adds that the freight agent who presented the cargo for export was arrested, and further investigation led to the arrest of another suspect who claimed that his mother sent the consignment to him from Ibadan to deliver to the agent. And outside the country, U.S. authorities have confirmed that former President Donald Trump is safe following an apparent assassination attempt at his Florida golf course, and a potential suspect is in custody. U.S. media citing unnamed law enforcement officials have named the suspect as Ryan Wesley Roth, a 58-year-old man who stays in Hawaii. Secret Service agents spotted the barrel of a rifle poking through some bushes and opened fire at him. The FBI said Trump was 300 to 500 yards, that's about 200 to 400 meters away at the time. The incident comes almost exactly 2 months after a gunman attempted to assassinate Trump at a rally in Pennsylvania, striking his ear. Well, busy weekend for club football across the world after players returned from international break, but Ajax fans are angry that they won't be seeing some action yet, as some of their fixtures have been postponed due to police strikes. The fans set off flares, attacked buildings, and clashed with officers on Sunday in Amsterdam after a demonstration. Images on local media showed Ajax fans grabbing bicycles and barriers and marching towards the police HQ in the Dutch capital before officers intervened to restore order. Well, fans had gathered earlier Sunday to protest that 3 of the matches had now coincided with police strikes over pensions. So there you have it, the top stories at this hour. Never mind that it's a public holiday here in Nigeria, but what have you been saying about some of the trending issues in the country and beyond? Jeffrey joins me to walk through the very interesting streets of X. Jeffrey.
Exactly, our social media of choice, and of course we'll start with a big one. Yesterday was history for Nigerians, where finally PMS was lifted from the Dangote refinery premises to the filling stations of the NNPCL. They call them the sole off-taker. It's what is called bilateral monopoly. One buyer, one seller. They will now be the ones to, there's a gamut of things there. But let's hear what the people are saying. Abirike 1998 say, we hope this will bring a huge relief to beleaguered citizens if the Dangote refinery supplies to NNPCL at 766. At what price would the letters in turn sell to the marketers and end users? Again, why NNPCL involvement in sale and distribution? Okay. You see, it's very exhausting to talk about this ping pong being played.
Yeah.
So what they agreed was the fact that if the prevailing market price is higher than the pump price in Nigeria, then NNPCL will be the off-taker for PMS only. So that's why we're asking the question about pricing, whether they are even with domestic refining, are we still going to have things like what do they call that thing?
The landing costs?
No.
Shortfall, which means subsidy.
Subsidy, and I'm trying to use their name so that they don't say. I'll stick with their name.
From subsidy to under recovery, now shortfalls.
It's just like trying to define loss and missing.
There you go. So I chuckled because this user Abirika quoted 766 naira. But that was before the back and forth. Now the NNPC Limited has said, no, it's 898. Dangote Refinery is saying, no, we need to wait till October 1st before we know the price. People are saying, so what is the price now? Well, they said it's based on what we got it in dollars. So let's look at what this user has to say, Benga Shegu. Please note that this is in reaction to Nigerians hearing that they've started loading trucks from NNPC Limited before the pricing came out. This user says, we implore NNPC Limited to sell fuel to marketers exactly the same amount Dangote Refinery is selling to them. All costs of logistics from NNPC should come as bailout or subsidy from government. Anything above, say the price again, 766 per litre at filling stations will still be back to square one. So reality check.
Yes, I wanted to give them that reality check. Maybe we'll put up that our director can help us, or producer can help us put up the reality check.
The breakdown.
So the breakdown.
That's the very first one. Yes. Just show Nigerians that breakdown.
That very
basically saying that, well, what we have from the Dangote refinery, that's according to NNPC Limited. They did break down. In fact, the eventual cost for Lagos was 950.
Places like Borno will have over 1,000.
Exactly. So.
Okay.
There you go. That is a breakdown.
That's a breakdown. So this is the new reality check, just in case you're...
So let's walk you through it. They said on Friday, September 13th, the price was 842. They added premium, that's 56 naira. Dangote Refinery PMS country pricing, 898 naira.
And then all the fees.
Yes.
And the NNDPR inspection, distribution, margin. So that is what it will come to in Lagos. 950, which is like the cheapest, right? So Lagos will buy the most affordable, and they have the explainers there. So just go to NNPCL on X. You see this ping pong. So everybody's trying to say, look, I'm not the cause, so just in case, I'm just doing business. I'm not the cause. But let's see what Sebastian is. Patrick Sebastian is saying, quite an historic clip here. However, the Dangote NNPCL saga continues. 48.6 million barrels of crude to be supplied by October. Yet fuel prices no they shake. It's a refinery revolution, just smoke and mirrors. We need a clear transparency on pricing. So maybe we'll have to run through these other tweets as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. So never mind. We're going to get deeper into this during the course of the show just after this. So this is to give you context, what Nigerians are saying, but we'll give you more on this. But let's flip to another conversation. Well, it's in Abia State. We understand that people are excited because the government has started paying salary arrears. It's mind-boggling in the first place that we have salary arrears. I've never heard
17.6 billion.
exactly owed civil servants. I've never heard political office holders, politicians say they've not paid me my salary. Never. I've never heard it. Or you keep finding out that civil servants are owed their salary. So let's take a look at this first one from IBKZ. It's for Abia Poly workers, saying, imagine 17.6 billion naira circulating within the state. It will surely improve people's ways of life. So this is meant to be like, I don't want to say an encouragement because it's what you're meant to do, but to other states that are owing, please, let's pay our workers.
Chuku Chidi says, when a leader leads well, nobody would care about the community, tribe, religion, or ethnic group. When electing leaders look beyond all these base sentiments and elect an accountable leader, please, Nigerians.
There you go. So if there are other arrears, other salary arrears to be paid in Abia State and other states, please let's pay these things. And I don't know why I'm even saying please, but just in case you're very recalcitrant as the government, please pay your people. But let's switch gears now. And this is a state of economy,
yes.
A picture of it. Nigerians repackaging spaghetti, basically into smaller packs for survival. Few strands, they say, tied together, now sold in tiny bundles for 100 naira each. So if you cannot afford the full thing, they break it into small packs and sell it for 100 naira. And we have a first user, Wana, ask them, saying, this is the peak of it. Do people really buy this? This is not hygienic and healthy. NAFDAC should step in and curb this now.
Even the makers of this product as well should come in and speak for themselves as much as possible. It's the people who do some of these kinds of food. Yeah. This person, Leah Vazi, says,
there you go.
I think that's
let's just show you what this is now.
So that strand goes for 100 naira. It is totally unhygienic in open spaces. These things were sealed, and what they'll say is like rice, it should be open. Well, I guess the people who sealed it and who make these things, they know why they seal it. So if you unseal it and sell it like this, I doubt if it's as hygienic as it should be. But this is what the economy of the country has caused right now. This is the toughest time to live in Nigeria, perhaps the toughest in history, given the numbers, because of the twin policy of the government. But let's see what Leah Vazi says. I saw grounded fresh pepper tied in small nylons for sale in the market.
So the comments go on. Ali Olabisi says, yes, things are difficult in the country right now. Extremely, actually, that's the word used here. And I always wonder how parents, especially with young children, manage, particularly now that schools are resuming. So imagine the school fees, the money for books. Oh, by the way, there's money for uniform, money for shoes, and then the daily money that you have to give the children for some sort of pocket money.
I think there's one we have to take before we run.
Yeah.
The guy, a special assistant to the Kwara State Governor, Mr. Ibrahim Labake, how do you pronounce it for me? Says he's resigned. Labeka. Yeah. He says he resigns because he can't continue collecting salaries for doing nothing. So I think it's important we celebrate him, and also it's a pointer to what goes on here. There are some people watching us now who work in government that they are not working. They just collect money.
We had someone saying that last week.
Yes. Aziz Adam says, this is legendary. This is the very first time I'm seeing a public officer holder come out to do this. God bless Nigeria. So the guy said, I can't just be collecting money and be doing nothing.
There you go.
But it's a common practice. Shocking. Common practice.
We hope this pricks your conscience if you're like him, or if you're one of those people doing nothing and earning money. Please leave that job and give way to others who want to do the job. At least let money go back into the Commonwealth. But that's how much we can take for now. But keep coming in. Hashtag CTV Morning Brief will definitely take them. We're starting off with a major issue. Call it ping pong, call it back and forth. The price of petrol. NNPC Limited versus Dangote Refinery, and the Nigerian people are the spectators. That's in a moment. Stay with us.
And so Nigerians celebrated a momentous occasion, it would seem, on Sunday, the 15th of September, when NNPCL trucks, 86 of them, we believe according to their reports, loaded petrol from Dangote refinery, significantly ending the regime of petrol importation, we hope. But it would seem that that's a Pyrrhic victory for Nigerians because the price of the commodity coming to Nigerians is rather high. But then again, what does the future hold? Is it a guarantee for an end in continuing scarcity as we have seen in the last couple of years? Let's have this conversation together so that we could understand the odds and the end. And to help us with this conversation, we have the National Welfare Officer of IPMAN, Mr. John Kekiocha, who joins us via Zoom. Good morning and welcome to the program, sir.
Good morning, my dear, and how are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for joining us on the program. So the weekend came with big news for Nigerians with the loading of petrol. But then we saw that back and forth between Dangote refinery and the NNPCL over pricing, with the NNPCL releasing a further statement to say, this is how much we got it and this is how much we're selling it. Let's start from there. How are you processing it, sir?
Thank you very much. You see, there is one thing Nigerians don't understand or they feel to neglect. With the deregulation of the downstream and the removal of subsidy, it means the market for the downstream refining and the production of petrol and diesel and all what sort is now free for all. And therefore, anybody doing it is doing this as a private business. Dangote is not a Nigerian company. It's an individual company. And therefore, if he buys product or fruit from NNPC and produces, he has to produce and sell and to make gain. Nigeria, NNPCL is only buying from them as an off-taker. And if they buy from Dangote, they have the advantage of immediate source of supply, which is better than importing product from outside Nigeria, which has to bear with logistics of transport and so on and so forth. So it's assumed that Dangote product should relatively be cheaper. So does that mean that Dangote is refining and is going to give Nigerians a very cheap price? It has to still sell to make gain. And if NNPCL, which is the only entity that is buying the PMS from Dangote, is buying it because it wants to ensure that the market price of the fuel is brought at reasonably for Nigerians vis-a-vis the one they used to import before. So when Nigerians say that because Dangote is producing product, it has to come down to 600 or 500, it will definitely reflect the cost of production and the cost of their supply to Nigeria. You understand?
But Mr. Kekiocha, prior to this time, the price adjustment announced by the NNPCL saw price of petrol increase from 548 naira from its stations, or 568 as the case may be, from its stations to 858 naira per litre. Should we believe what NNPCL is telling us by implication of this new price, that petrol imported from outside Nigeria is cheaper than the one produced by a domestic industry at home?
It's not possible. The product we are going to get from Dangote cannot be cannot be costlier than the one imported because we have advantage of supply logistics. If the one we are going to get from the one we are going to import from abroad is going to be cheaper, then there is no need celebrating Dangote's refinery production. So absolutely, it's going to be cheaper than the imported products.
Mr. Kekiocha, maybe let's contextualize it. My colleague is asking, it's not what we are hoping it will be. It is what it is. Just a few months ago, pump price increased and everybody was screaming. And the NNPCL came out and said the sector is deregulated. You know, they've denied a couple of things or not being clear with a few things when questions were asked until they provided clarity later. But maybe you as a player will help us answer that question directly. She is saying, just before Dangote came upstream, they've already increased the price. And what it landed to us, who are the purchasers or the buyers, came to about 800 and something. Now they are saying, with Dangote coming upstream, the first batch that is coming out now, Lagos, which is the place that will buy perhaps the most affordable, will buy for 950. So we're not asking it should be or it shouldn't be. It is what it is. Help us make sense of how abroad or the ones outside the country was 800 and something, and now Dangote is almost 1,000 naira, at least for Lagos as a case study.
Specifically, NNPCL has not told Nigeria the price they're going to sell fuel. All this 940 something is speculative. If the price, the NNPCL has not defined any price for this product they got from the Dangote refinery.
But
Every
it has.
price,
No, Mr. Akekocha, NNPC has.
Yes.
NNPC has. We saw a release this morning, so we're going to put it up for you. Lagos, you will buy fuel for 950. Places like Borno, we're going to buy fuel for like, I think if I'm correct, over 1,000 naira. So NNPC did a breakdown of what they got from Dangote refinery, how all the payment, NNDPRO distribution, all the elements of payment that, and then their own margin. Put together, Lagos will buy for 950. Borno will buy for over 1,000 naira. Now, we also know that before now, some people were buying for about 1,213, even sometimes less than that. My question again, with these facts in front of you, before now, the prices had increased in some places like Lagos to 800 and something to almost 900. Dangote has come. It appears it's even a bit higher in some places like Lagos and all of that. So help us make sense.
Well, I was not privy to the fact that NNPC had defined the price. If NNPC can sell the Dangote product higher than the imported product, it doesn't make sense. What is the celebration we're having all this while then?
Now, Mr. Akekocha, this was released some hours ago, so it's understandable. This was released today, actually, so it's understandable that you may not have seen that. But I'm sorry?
The celebration we'll be having is in view of the logistics before us about the deportation and Dangote having started production. It's reasonably believed that the Dangote product will be cheaper.
So let's look at this deeper, and I want us to go back to the breakdown by the NNPC Limited estimated pump price based on Dangote Refinery September 2024 PMS pricing. Again, Dangote had come out to say, well, this is based on what they bought in dollars, and the Naira transaction will begin October 1st. But if you look at it, it says that a metric ton, I believe, is $690. So when they break it down to per liter, that's $0.52 per liter of premium motor spirit. That's the first line. So if you do that that conversion, it would show that NNPC Limited is using 1,620 naira to $1 for this particular conversion, right? That's what NNPC Limited is using.
637 naira.
Exactly. So you wonder if it's actually 620. You wonder if that's the same thing they use for the importation of petrol. When they're importing petrol, do they actually use 1,620, or they get the what's that word, shortfalls, if they get some sort of forex rebates just to buy petrol outside there? Now, if you look further, you see premium is $0.03 per liter. Dangote refinery country pricing is $0.55 per liter, and everything comes to 950. There's also NMDPRA fee, inspection fee, distribution costs for Lagos, and margin. That's how NNPC Limited says it came to 950 naira per liter. And if you look under that table, you see NNPC Limited says PMS prices are not set by government, but negotiated directly between parties on an arm's length basis. So if NNPC Limited in that statement is saying, wait for the technical committee set up by the federal government, and NNPC Limited is saying, no, they don't set prices, it's based on business deal. What do you see, Mr. Akekocha? Does it look like they are shifting blames? NNPC doesn't want to be the one responsible for high pricing. Dangote too doesn't want to be the one responsible for high pricing, and we're going back and forth on this one.
You see, before now, the products from the imported products in Nigeria has been replaced about 600 to 615. And we understand that the government has been doing some undercover process to ensure that these products come at this rate, which means basically Nigeria has been getting it a little higher than what it gives to Nigerians. But with the 950 as stated here, it means that Nigeria has not tampered with the price. It's giving it exactly as it's getting it from Dangote refinery. So if anything price is going to go down, it possibly means that the government is going to intervene to ensure that the price is comfortable for Nigerians. But you know, Dangote has just started production, so the cost of production for possibly now will be a little higher. But as time goes on, their cost of production will start getting gradually lower and lower until a reasonable price is reached, which will make it to be more comfortable for Nigerians.
So, in your view, does this make economic sense? Well, Nigerians don't have a choice. NNPC Limited has already loaded more than how many? 70 trucks or 80 trucks. So basically, Nigerians will have to buy it for 950. Or do you see any sort of intervention here, either from government or what have you?
Like I said, they have been undercover by the government before now.
Oh, that's under recoveries, right? Subsidies.
Undercover by government before now. And if the Dangote price is 950 without government intervention, it means gradually the undercover thing will come to play and let the Nigerians will get it cheaper.
So, Mr. Kekiocha, I think there are more questions to be asked. We've said it before at the start of the program about whether or not or how important it is for Dangote to provide further clarification about how much it sold petrol exactly to the NNPCL. But would it also be important at this point in time to query why NNPCL is a sole off-taker? Indeed, independent marketers and retailers are asking questions about why NNPCL continues to be the sole off-taker. Why shouldn't the market be liberalized? After all, it's a deregulated market. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, if it's difficult to reconcile the prices based on even the calculation that my colleague broke down just moments ago, are you wondering if the NNPCL is trying to make inordinate gain? And we know, according to what it had said just 2 weeks ago, that it is owing its suppliers of petrol in the international market $6 billion.
Yes, the Dangote refinery thing, like we stated, that their diesel production can go for any off-taker. Their sale for diesel can go for any off-taker. But for the PMS, their off-taker for now is only NNPCL. There are people are requesting that it will be made open for anybody who wants to buy to go to the Dangote refinery and buy. There is nobody does that kind of business. Because we believe that NNPCL is, as an off-taker, gets the product and delivers it in bulk to other off-takers under NNPCL, like Ipman, Dapman, Neyman, and the rest of them. But if we now say everybody should go to Dangote to buy products from there and start selling, it makes it a little more cumbersome. So NNPCL will pick as a direct off-taker, and the other players will now partake in the distribution.
Mr. Kekiocha, just as we begin to wind down, so I like to contextualize things based on law and agreement. You said, it's like you're saying the reason why NNPCL is the sole off-taker is because to bring some level of order. That was not what we were told by the Ministry of Finance. I'll say exactly what was stated by the NNPCL in response to when Murik accused them of being an off-taker, and they clearly said it's only every other product anybody can go and buy, but for PMS, NNPCL will be off-taker, and this is the condition. The NNPCL Limited will only fully off-take PMS from the Dangote refinery if the market prices of PMS are higher than the pump prices in Nigeria. I want you to respond to that. It has nothing to do with order. It has everything to do with how the market polls play out.
If you recall, I made a statement before that NNPCL before now has been getting this product to Nigerians with the under recovery cost. And now Dangote is producing. it is possible NNPCL too will intervene to ensure that the supply to Nigerians is not as high as they possibly would have gotten it from Dangote. So if you make it open, this condition will not arise.
There you go. So on a final note, what are the options for Ipman? Would you continue to buy from the major marketers, or you'll also partake in this Dangote product? So buy it. I don't know how you'll do it, but what are the options available for you? And if NNPC Limited says it's 950, is Ipman able to sell it below that based on the, what you get from either the major marketers or the depot owners?
The independent petroleum marketers had several meetings with the NNPCL. The president, Alhaji Shetima Magandi, has had meetings with NNPCL on how to get bulk supplies from NNPCL through by having our own tank farm, which is seriously in progress. The essence of doing this is that if NNPCL is going to get bulk supply to Ipman, the Ipman, who has the highest number of outlets in the country, will be able to disseminate this product and distribute it seamlessly.
No, I understand, Mr. Kikiocha. Because of time, I'm saying, would you still continue to buy from private depots, or you now go to NNPCL? What is the plan now, quickly?
We will buy from NNPCL because we believe that it's going to be easier and cheaper for Ipman.
So you will be selling for at least 950 as well?
Not at this time.
So how much will you be selling at this time? How much are you selling today?
Ipman is selling, depending on how you got your product. If some Ipman members are selling less than 800, some are selling 800 and something. But with this supply of Dangote now, the price of product, we have not gotten the supply. Meanwhile, the 100 trucks they are loading are supplies to NPCL rated stations.
Well, Mr. Kikiocha, I wonder if we're going to be seeing that, because even prior to this time, products sold by marketers, by Ipman, was above 800 naira per litre. I may be wrong, but have you also, gone around to check stations under the Ipman umbrella? Don't answer that, sir. We're totally out of time. It's a big conversation. Perhaps we'll expand it later on in the week. But we must thank you very much at this point in time, Mr. John Kikiocha, the National Welfare Officer, Ipman, who joined us via Zoom. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And so what's the impact of this new price regime on your pocket, on inflation? And how come we're witnessing what economists call a trade surplus? And in fact, other indices that are showing positive, but it's not reflecting on the pockets of Nigerians. Let's have that conversation after this time out. We'll be right back.
Well, we will be expanding the conversation by piggyback on the NNPCL, of course, Dangote refinery issue, which is what I call camera one, which is more like our bread and butter. If anything goes wrong with the oil sector, God forbid, that's all I'll say. Mr. Christian Chukwu, economist, MD, Karu Asset Management Limited, joins us from via Zoom. Mr. Chukwu, I don't know why you're smiling.
Because you have Christian me, Christian Chukwu.
Sorry, Johnson Chukwu, my apologies.
So that's why I was laughing. So you want me to take him quickly, eh?
My sincere apologies. My sincere apologies. That was a mistake. Mr. Johnson Chukwu, maybe help us make sense of what is playing out between the NNPCL and Dangote refinery. It started with a quality battle. Now it has shifted to a price battle. We don't know what more battles we have ahead of us. So on one hand, we're celebrating. On the other hand, we're looking at all the ping pong between both of them as to why prices are high. Nigerians are saying, how come imported products are now cheaper than the ones we produce here? And Dangote Refinery is saying, look, the federal government is going to make a statement, but NNPC has come out to make a statement and even given a breakdown of how much they bought, how much the end user, like us, the consumers, will get, depending on the part of the country we're in. So maybe your quick intervention of what is playing out, because Nigerians are getting a bit confused. As an economist, what do you see? What can you interpret? How do you characterize what is going on?
Well, what I would say is that there's a lot of confusion in what's going on today, principally because it looks like there is a media campaign, obviously with motives that I can't really explain, because some of the issues that are being thrown to the public are things that they could have resolved. Take, for instance, the statement that was issued by Dangote yesterday, saying that the claim by NNPC was false. And NNPC came out this morning to give a breakdown how they arrived at their 898 naira per liter as a cost from Dangote, which said that they bought Plat at $690 per metric ton, which amounts about 55 cents per liter, and that they also paying a premium of $46 per metric ton. And they were very specific on the quality of the product, which is 10 ppm, which is 10 parts per million metric ton. So, and the issues now are we going to get a regulated price, which had been announced earlier that NNPC will be the sole off-taker, and so as to make sure that, I think that was announced by the chairman of Federal Inland Revenue Service, to ensure that we have a stable that Nigerians can afford an increase in price. The publication by NNPC this morning says that prices will be determined by cost, it will be cost reflective. And NNPC gave a detailed breakdown of how they arrived at even the 950 naira per liter in Lagos, which includes the NDPRA fee of 1%, which is about 8.99 naira per liter, which you add to the 989 naira per liter. Then they also have a cost of 15 naira per liter for logistics. And then they have a 97 kobo per liter for which they call expression cost. And then you had the margin, the trader's margin of 26 naira 48 kobo. So these are implying that in Lagos, pump price will be about 950 naira to a liter. This is contrary to the earlier pump price, about 855 naira per liter. And of course, if you look at the graphics you are showing there, a place like Borno will buy a liter of product for 1,019 naira. So in effect, we are now dealing with a fully deregulated premium motor spirits market, which is now fully cost reflective. Which I said, I'm also confused because I wouldn't know. I think this, if we have to go by this latest publication, it then means the price of petrol has been fully deregulated, and in as much as NNPC is supposed to be the final off-taker, or the sole off-taker, it then means that even marketers, oil marketers, can be free to import from any source that is market competitive, because basically it's going to be about market pricing.
Interesting. So I want us to look through that breakdown again, and I want to find out, while we may not know why there's this back and forth, this media war, while we may not know it, we certainly know that we do not need it at this point, because there's an existential issue right now, and I think we all should work together rather than at cross purposes. So when you do the breakdown, $0.52, that's 52 cents per liter, comes to 842. And when we did the math, we realized that the exchange rate for that was 1,620 naira to a dollar. So is this one, the international price just playing out? You know, what you get crude at is what naturally will translate into what you refine at eventually, because you're buying in dollars, and then your whole process is also in dollars as well. That's why it comes to this. So is that like a globally acceptable pricing, or it is the exchange rate that is the issue? Because I asked Eatman earlier on if, if they think this is fair, because it's been said that NNPC Limited has been getting some sort of, will I call it subsidy, short for the forex that is used to buy petrol. That's why they're able to present it at a lower price. So is it fair to also use 1,620? So is the challenge with the conversion rate that was used, or the pricing? Is it possible to get it even cheaper? I hope you catch my drift, Mr. Chukwu.
Yes, I do. I've actually said this at different fora, that the challenge we have with the pricing of premium motor spirit, or PMS, or fuel as we call it, is coming from exchange rate depreciation or devaluation. If you look at when the president made an announcement that subsidy is gone, NNPC template then implied that they will be using 750 naira to a dollar to import fuel. So if you look at the international plat price, and then you do an exchange rate of 750 naira to the dollar, that's how they arrive at the price that was fixed for fuel as at that time. Today, we're dealing with an exchange rate that had depreciated materially, almost 100% from what it was when the exchange rate was harmonized in June last year. And so that means that the greatest pass-through on the pump price is the exchange rate. So if the exchange rate, as we look at what they have used to arrive at the 950 naira to a liter, is actually 1,637 naira per dollar. And it then means that if exchange rate should appreciate back to 1,000 naira to a dollar, then we should have some respite. We should have the price of the pump price reduced. Because the truth is that even when we begin to sell crude from 1st of October to Dangote in naira, it will still be at the ruling exchange rate conversion rate. So if exchange rate gets to 2,000 naira, pump price could go beyond even the indicative prices they published this morning. So we need to deal with, and I have also always said that, look, we should focus our narrative on how do we improve the exchange rate. And the only surest route to improve the exchange rate is improve crude production. If we improve crude production and we're able to export materially higher volume of crude than we're exporting today, we will have the foreign exchange earnings that will help us stabilize the exchange rate and possibly lead to some level of appreciation. In the absence of a major improvement in crude price, in crude production, we're going to be dealing with this issue of naira depreciation in the foreseeable future.
I'd like to stay with this, Mr. Chukwu, because of, the explanation provided by the technical committee when it announced that NNPCL would be off-taking petrol from Dangote. It had said that would be paying for crude to Dangote in dollars by October the 1st, and in exchange, NNPCL will be off-taking petrol from Dangote, and that would also be paid for in naira. But in the last clarification provided by the NNPCL this morning, NNPCL said for the September offtake, it is paying Dangote crude for petrol in dollars rather than in naira. Why the contradiction? And then some would say Dangote refinery is a private investment, and as such, because the market has been deregulated, it should determine its own price. Why is it waiting for the technical committee to announce the price? What do you understand to be the reason for these contradictions?
Okay, in the first place, if we look at the announcement between yesterday and today, you will actually recognize that the announcement by the technical committee has been suspended or bypassed. But let's even look at the components of the announcement. They said from 1st of October, NNPC will begin to supply about 357,000 metric tons a day to Dangote refinery. And that will be priced in naira. And they also say that the pricing would be at the ruling exchange rate. But as it stands today, Dangote refinery had been importing fuel from crude from US, although they have some allocations from NNPC in the past. I think about 48 million metric tons, according to the publication last from Green I saw. But those allocations must have been priced in dollars. And as well as any import of crude that Dangote had made earlier from US or from any other country must have been done in dollars. So it just behoves on Dangote and NNPC that they call in transactions based on existing crude that was imported by Dangote and refined will be priced in dollars. Simple is in other words, Dangote won't be in a position to pay back the dollar loans or the dollar obligations it would have incurred to import the crude. So I clearly understand that any transaction prior to the 1st of October timeline for the commencement of crude supply in naira and lifting in naira will be priced in dollars. So there's certainly no contradiction to that.
All right, just one more question on this particular Dangote issue before we go to other macroeconomic conversations, and that has to do with the statement that was made by NNPCL earlier that off-taking will be based on the fact that if the market prices are higher than the pump prices in Nigeria. So I needed you to explain that statement.
Well, I think that's the logical thing that based on what we have seen today, like I said earlier, the plant, which is based on 10 ppm, that's a particular specification that means very low sulfur content, is as at September 13th was priced at $690 per metric ton. So for us to have a competitive market where there is no excessive profiteering, then it simply means that importers or consumers should be open to all the markets. So Dangote should be free to say to Nigerian consumers and also free to sell to any foreign consumer. And that implies that NNPC or anybody who is trading in refined petroleum products should also be free to import or buy from any source that is cheaper. Otherwise, you and I, as consumers, we are going to suffer severe price extortion, because if you are not open to market and the prices are determined in the absence of subsidy on a single supplier, you will have a problem of monopoly. And I'm sure Dangote wouldn't want to be caught in that space where Nigerians will accuse him of profiteering through his monopoly position. Because I want to believe he wants to be patriotic and he wants to ensure that Nigerians get the full value of having petroleum products refined locally. But for that to happen, the market dynamics must have as checks and balances. That means the market should be open to anybody who is supplying to us at lower prices. And that will also compel or encourage Dangote to be most efficient in terms of importation of his feedstock from sources that are cheaper, and in terms of efficiency in the refining operation.
We can talk all day about this. And again, looking at how this conversion was done, different exchange rates were used eventually. So for the Platts 10 ppm, the exchange rate that was used was 1,620. Then for the premium, the exchange rate that was used was 1,872. When they wanted to convert the eventual Dangote refinery PMS country pricing, they used 1,634. So 1,637, which was quoted on top, was never used at any point, even to get the final pricing. So there's still a lot of questions to ask about this. And you wonder what exactly is going on. What we want is petrol, and we want it in the most transparent and efficient manner. But let's talk about how this affects the economy, because this is just a major part of a larger picture, quite all right. So we're expecting inflation figures. We're waiting to see how the CBN will respond. We saw trade figures, Nigeria doing a surplus, but when you look deeper, you see that it's just a major giant responsible for all of that. But then you look at the pockets of Nigerians and their purchasing power. It's even worse. Even though the government is saying that things are better, the figures are looking better than when it came in. What do you see, Mr. Chukwu, when you look at all of these figures coming together, particularly for the pocket of Nigerians?
Well, you and I, Nigerians, I think the first question asks is, how do we feel? I guess every Nigerian is worse off with the current situation we are facing the country. We're living today with a cost of living crisis, and it affects each and everybody in the country. If you dwell on the issue of the trade figures, foreign trade figures, you observe that last year, second quarter of last year, total import was 6.3 trillion naira. Total export was 6.4 trillion naira. In the second quarter of this year, total import dropped to about 12 trillion, while total export moved to 19 trillion. And all of them are driven by one factor. The doubling of total import was driven solely by exchange rate devaluation. The same thing applies to total export. But the reality, if you dig further and you actually adjust for exchange rate movement, you will observe that in terms of actual imports, decrease because Nigerians can no longer afford to consume basic necessities of life. And that also explains it's a lot of other factors that happen in the country, including the existence of foreign manufacturing outfits in the country, because our purchasing power has been so badly eroded that most of us can afford basic necessities. So the people who are importing these goods have no motivation to import them if they are unable to sell what they have in their shelf floors or in their warehouses. And that's what's giving an illusion that our trade position has improved. What we are witnessing is that our standard of living has deteriorated to the extent where we can't afford basic things. And we must put that in the context of it. And it is not good for the economy, because that's also why a lot of foreign investors are exiting the country. We have the likes of P&G, Procter & Gamble has left, GSK has left, Guinness has left, and you have PZ has also left. So we need to actually focus on how do we revive the economy so that Nigerians will have the capacity to consume and encourage productive activities and the growth of the economy and create more values.
Well, Mr. Chukwu, further on the economy, FDC had projected that inflation would drop by about 2% this month. We're wondering how that would be possible, particularly following the announcement by the NNPCL of a price adjustment to 858 naira per litre and a further increase with the offtake of product from Dangote refinery. So are you projecting, do you agree that there would be a reduction in inflation figures or there would be, a spike, even also in food inflation to be announced soon?
There's what we call lag effect when you measure inflation of economic data. The price adjustment we're witnessing today may not have been captured by the Bureau of Statistics in their measurement of inflation. So we begin to see this impact when we look at the October inflation and all the rest, and so going forward. So you may see a minor decline in inflation, not because current prices have adjusted, but because the timing of the data collection was prior to the adjustment we are all witnessing today. But now on the issue of food inflation, we're at the peak of the harvest season. The food inflation had dropped about 40.7% in July to about 39% in August, was driven largely by food production, improvement in crop production. But that is always temporary, because by the time you are through with the harvest season and you go back to the planting season, you realize that the minor improvement you saw in food production will be eroded because we don't even have the storage capacity to store excess food that is produced during the peak of the harvest season. But most importantly, we have not addressed the issue of insecurity in the major food belts of the country, the North Central, the Northeast, and the Northwest. Until we address that, we're not going to see a consistent improvement in food production. And as long as food production does not improve, inflation is not going to improve on a long-term basis. We need to address food production for us to have improvement in food inflation. But another component of inflation is the core inflation, which will be impacted negatively by the increase in the pump price of fuel, which has been translated to increase in transport costs. So you're going to see an uptick in measurement for transport costs, and you're going to see an uptick in measurement for energy cost. So these factors will ultimately flush into core inflation, which we should expect to materially increase when we go back to the month of October.
All right. One of the questions I want to find out, are you worried about the way the handlers of the economy and the government and what they, maybe let me rephrase it differently. Are you worried about what they celebrate as a win? Because it's very concerning. And I'll give you an example. I know that the government has come to celebrate our balance of payment. So for me, if we talk about remittances, simply put, if someone is living abroad and I send money to my mother in Nigeria, and that money came to about, maybe I send £1, and it used to be 1.5. I send that pound, now it's now 2,000. Naturally, I'll be more motivated. So I don't know whether that's something to celebrate. We just did the dollar subscription or the bond that was issued by the government is oversubscribed, I think $400 million or so. And government is celebrating that. Look, this is because of the confidence that the people have in the government to be able to repay and all of that. But our debt has invariably increased. Now trade surplus is being celebrated. This is money illusion. Everybody knows that exchange rate is playing out because how do you move from 6 trillion or so to 19 trillion in 1 year without productivity? So if these are the wins that are being touted as victory, that's why our policy is working. Are you worried about the managers of the economy and how they are thinking about what success really is?
Well, I think I wouldn't say I'm worried, but because I seem to understand or assume that I can hazard a guess into their motivation. It's all about creating an image, an illusion of success when there's actually no success. And obviously their perspective in viewing the economy is coming from a very narrow premise. For you to run an economy at the macro level, you need to have a bird view of the economy. A tunnel view, if you're looking at one narrow premise, and then you make your judgment on that, not recognizing the multiplicity of impact of that very narrow perspective you are looking at. I think because we have a reasonable number of knowledgeable people, including all of you in the studio, that have actually presented this the way you did, the managers of the economy, and particularly the economic handlers, need to appreciate that Nigerians recognize where there is growth, where the GDP is growing, where there is an expansion in employment, where productivity is improving, and contrary to the presentation they are trying to make to us, we are all, if you tell any Nigerian that his condition has improved compared to what it was last year, the person will pinch himself and ask whether something is wrong with you, or because I don't think any Nigerian is deluded or deceived the fact that our conditions have worsened. So if the government focuses on addressing the core issues, which I mentioned, let's address the issue of food production by addressing the issue of insecurity, address the issue of crude production by addressing the issue of pipeline breaches, stealing of crudes to encourage improved crude production. We're going to be dealing with the fundamental issues. I think the government should need to divert its attention from image laundering and focus on the heavy lifting that will help us stabilize the economy. Ultimately, if the economy is growing, they don't need to go on engage any trumpeter to tell us that our conditions are improving.
Mr. Chukwu, I'm happy that is coming from you, because sometimes it comes from us. It looks like we're mindless critics of the government. But if we see the numbers improve and reality is in our face and we see that it's corresponding, you cannot say anything different. We base on facts, and facts is quite sacred. But I must thank you. And let me say it again, Johnson Chukwu, to repair the wrong. Mr. Johnson Chukwu, economist and MD Cowries Asset Management Limited. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
We will shift gears after the break. We'll bring you updates. We told you that a lot has been going on as far as brothers and sisters in the north are concerned with the flood. So focus on Kaduna and Maiduguri. What is the latest update? We'll bring you that after this break. Join us again.
Well, we're talking environmental issues now. Borno State has been in the news for over a week now because of the flooding in Maiduguri. But if you look closely and if you've been following the news, you realize that Borno is not the first to experience flooding in the country, particularly in northern Nigeria. We've had states like Kaduna, Kano, Zamfara, Yobe, Gombe, Adamawa, all these states experiencing flooding. And NEMA had to put out a statement recently saying over 200 people have been killed as a result of flooding in the country in the past few weeks. So before we get to Borno State this morning, let's stop over our northwest state of Kaduna and find out what is going on there with the state of flooding. We are joined by the Commissioner of Environment, Kaduna State, Mr. Abubakar Buba, joins us virtually on the program. Mr. Buba, you're welcome to the Morning Brief. Well, the latest report from Kaduna is that 2 children have died, over 1,000 displaced, communities cut off as a result of flooding, farmlands destroyed. And I'd like you to paint a more vivid picture for Nigerians. Yes, there's a lot of attention on Borno State, Maiduguri to be precise, but you're also having your fair share of environmental challenges. So how terrible is the situation, or has it gotten better right now?
Well, thank you so much. As you said, the issue of flooding in northern Nigeria now is almost all the states are exposed. From the recent report from NIMET, it has shown that almost all the states in northern Nigeria are exposed to flooding. As a result of this, before now, His Excellency the Governor of Kaduna State, Senator Obafemi, instructed us and all the relevant stakeholders to ensure that we put all the necessary mechanisms with readiness to ensure that we have such flood. The government has taken the necessary measures to reduce the impact that it will produce. This is what happened as a result of this. The Ministry for Environment and Natural Resources in the state will embark then before the advent of the rain, replacing the entire drainages within the city center and other local governments in the state. As a result of that, this really helps to ensure that by the time the rain comes, we will have some use so that the river. But like you know, some of these things are naturally you can really be little about, because the issue of flooding has been it's a global issue. We can see what is happening in Eastern Europe at the moment, and what like when you said what is happening in Borno, like Kaduna, we have our own share of the impact of flooding. Local government like Gabon, the Zaria, part of Jama'a have been experiencing flooding, and we lost about 3 lives in Gabon. A lot of cities like houses have been cut off, communities have been cut off, and but the state government is doing a lot to ensure that these problems are resolved. As you know, what we do as a state to ensure that for our preparedness is to ensure that all stakeholders engagement was done from the various communities to give them the view and advice to people that the water we have moved out of where they are, so that if the water comes, the flooding will not meet, we will not have casualties of living life. This is seriously ongoing. All the local government chairmen have been put on the alert at the moment, because you know the problem with water is that by the time you discharge it from another place, it is charging a lower radiant. So it's possible that it will not rain here in Kaduna, but it rain in another state that has a connecting river flow to Kaduna. So you get it in the house because you know what is happening, like to create some issues. You wake up and find out your house has flooded. So we evacuated and informed the entire people that are living within the river Rhine areas to move out of their houses, which that has been done as I'm speaking with you now. And the state our action plan is working at the moment, because all our stakeholders and the body that has been established by the state government to ensure that if there are any emergencies are all on alert at the moment. The state FEMA, Ministry for Environment, all the stakeholders, even the non-governmental organizations and civil society organizations that are working with us, they are all on alert to ensure that if there's anything that happens, to come in to do what is expected of us to do. But the state government has really put all the necessary mechanisms in place to ensure that if it is going to come, it will come in a very low. The most important thing for us next to have just like there are some times that you see, like now we have some challenges. Part of the challenges is that they are already we've lost some livelihoods, because the water has gone into some farms, destroying crops and properties. The state government have set up a committee that are working under the leadership of the chief of staff. Now they go around all the 23 local government of the state, and their report is ready.
Yes, indeed, Mr. Buba. Preparedness for emergency is good, but the question is, what about mitigation efforts? And I'm going to put that question in proper context. During the visit to that area where the bridge linking 5 communities was destroyed by the impact of the flood, there was a community leader there who said that the bridge was actually built from proceeds of their farm produce. And besides that, we can also see erosion eating away at what is left of the infrastructure in that community. So what investment has been made in terms of infrastructure development in those areas? And perhaps there just may be other areas where their environment is currently being threatened by the impact of flood. So what investment is being made in local communities to mitigate disaster, particularly in the advent of prediction of floods by NIMET?
Well, thank you so much. Just like what you said, that's why I'm explaining. As a proactive measure, that's the reason why His Excellency set up a committee and said the committee to go on the spot assessment around the entire 23 local government in the state. They've done that, and just like what you said, such communities that were cut off, yes, what we have in our present budget in the state for work is very, very, it's one of the best figures that has ever been recorded in the state for a very long time now. Because His Excellency, the governor, has given cash backing to ensure that all these bridges that have been cut off work upon immediately. For instance, even last week I was discussing with the PM of Kaduna. He told me that he has already gotten approval from his excellency. They are moving to site to ensure that they start fixing the roads that were cut off by the flooding. And at the same time, like the community effort is something that the government really values. And anywhere we have communities that are trying to fix their roads, the government comes in to ensure that to take over and put all the necessary measures in place to ensure that such roads were built to have the distance of quality work. Not because by the time you leave it to the community, the work will definitely make it.
Mr. Buba.
Not necessarily that they have a quality work there.
Mr. Buba, pardon me. This impact assessment that you talk about, it is after the fact, not in response to NIMET's prediction about intense rainfall this year.
Yes.
When
but before this happened, the state government like approved it. We've done a lot because we defeated almost all the local governments and the state committees in SEMA, because in Kaduna State, apart from SEMA, we equally have LEMA. The LEMA are the local government emergency committees. All of them were put on alert, and all the drainages within the communities were properly defeated. The governor instructed us to employ more than 3,200 staff to ensure that their next work is to dispute all block drainages. People were, there was community engagement between us and all the...
Pardon me, I may have to interrupt you again. The point is that the impact assessment was done, but perhaps you haven't provided clarification, maybe after the fact, not in response to NIMET's prediction. But we must take a break now. When we return, perhaps you have more time to respond to that. We'll take a break now. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're still staying with the impact of the flood in Nigeria's north, starting from Kaduna. And we have with us the Commissioner for Environment in Kaduna, Mr. Buba. Mr. Buba, thank you for holding on. The point of my question is why state governments are more reactive rather than proactive to situations like this, particularly when ample notices have been provided ahead of time for preparedness and mitigation efforts.
Thank you so much. I've told you, we are proactive, not reactive. Because that's the reason why, if you can notice, what the expectation is that by now there is a lot of flood in Kaduna State. But because of the proactive measures taken by the state government, that is the reason why we are experiencing less and less of the flood in the state. Before now that I've told you, since on April, we started engagement with the community to ensure that at the end of the day, we put them on notice and what they need to know. And apart from that, the debriefing exercise started in April. That was even before the advent of the rain. It's a continuous process up to now. Part of the local engagement that we did is to ensure that we sensitize our people to tell them that they should stop the habit of putting airfields in the drainage ways. All those things were done by the state government under the Ministry for Environment and Natural Resources. And like I've told you, now we are only putting on alert, red alert speed, because we know this is the peak of the rainy season, and we need to be on ground to ensure that if there's any outbreak of such flood, the state government is all the machinery is taken place. Action will be done to ensure that yes, what we have is reduced to the direct minimum.
All right, Mr. Buba, let's also add a layer to this, because our empathy is with the people of Kaduna that have been affected by this flood. Because on one hand, they are dealing with a challenging economy, high prices of PMS. Looking at the NNPCL map, if they are not already buying for more than that, for NNPCL, who is also a retailer, they'll be buying for as much as 1,000 naira, because it's 999, which is approximately 1,000 naira at filling station. Now adding to this natural disaster. So I want to talk to you about, ask you questions around the health component. Has there been any health issue associated with the recent flooding? And if there is, what is the government doing? And if there is none, what are you doing to prevent it?
All right, thank you so much. For now, we don't have any health outbreak in the state as a result of the flooding or the raining activity. But in order to ensure that if we have preventive measures for that, the State Ministry of Health has been directed to ensure that all the local government and primary healthcare facilities have been put on alert, because we know all these issues happen as a result of each man's mistake. And as human beings, we are trying our possibly just as a state, because the state governor has given the instruction that if there's any outbreak, an emergency rapid response team has been put in place, and such will be mitigated as soon as that happens. So this, the state has put a lot of measures in place to ensure that even if there is any there's a rapid response team at all the 23 local governments. They are on standby, more especially the issue of cholera and what have you not. And at the same time, the governor has instructed all the 22 local governments have chlorinated the wells to ensure that the water that people are taking is chlorinated, so that to prevent the advent of cholera and other diseases that are attributed to the rainy season.
So let's reiterate again the cause of this. We've seen what's playing out in Borno State. It's said to be as a result of the Alao Dam breaking and then letting out all of the water. And I mentioned other northern states that are experiencing flooding. Now, these are states you would normally not look to when you want to talk about flooding, because one, their positioning when it comes to sea level, hundreds of meters above sea level and all of that. But yet the soiling of those areas is quite tricky. So speak to us about the cause, the causative factors, and then what is the outlook for farming? Kaduna is known to be a big farming state, maize and all of that. So what is going on, particularly for those whose farmlands have been washed away? So the cause and then the outlook.
Well, thank you so much. Like you said, the discharge of water, more especially the states that are in the lower region, if there's discharge of water from one state, it can affect another state. Because what you are doing, the river that is being discharged is recharging another river. In Kaduna State, yes, we have some local government that have been, their farmlands have been affected. And like you know, we are the largest producers of maize in the country, and a lot of other grains as well. At the moment, what the state government is doing, for those particular communities that have been affected, their crops have been destroyed as a result of the flood, and the emergency issue has been raised on that. And we are lucky to tell you that as I'm speaking to you now, the state government is working assiduously to ensure that all farming activities going forward, our major farmers engage in the aspect of having the farmers are being given awareness to ensure that whatsoever they do, they put their farm inputs and farm products in the right perspective. And the state government is coming up with a lot of measures to ensure that those that are affected that their farm products have been lost, we do as much as we can to ensure that the government come up with aid for them so that they reduce the impact of the losses that they are going to have. And going forward, the government will come up with better measures to ensure that at the end of it, whatsoever happens to farmers will not be allowed to bear the loss alone.
Now, Mr. Buba, you say that the state government is proactive rather than reactive. So I'm going to follow up on that. How, following that impact assessment that you say the state government carried out, what amount is the state government committing to rebuilding infrastructure in the different local government areas and to forestall the impact of flooding? And will the state government be executing that project alone, or will it be empowering, particularly following the financial autonomy granted local government, will it be ceding that responsibility for the local government to execute?
Well, the state government would not allow only the local government to execute such projects. The state government will play its own part, and the budget for 2024, more especially for Ministry of Public Works, is very, very handsome in the state, because the public works budget is carrying about almost 20% of the total budget size of the state for 2024. This, I'm sure, by the time the water receives all the bad roads and rivers, that were cut off by this flood, are going to be fixed back by the state government. And at the same time, the state government is not working the rules. There are a lot of funding that we receive, and then they are working with the state is part of those that are enjoying the World Bank loan on the Africa. So we are using the funding to ensure that we rebuild back all the infrastructure that are lost in the state, so that at the end of the day, people will come out better, and then we cover back the loss that has been experienced by this flooding and rainy season.
So how much is the state government committing, and what timeline are you presenting for the completion of these projects?
No, the aspect of giving how much the state government is committed is not something I can tell you now, because it's something that we have to get the actual loss that is there. For the time that you are talking, is something that is immediate because we've already started. And I told you, the state government under Kaduna Road, that is Kaduna Road Agency, have started working on more especially the bridges that have been lost as a result of this flooding, so that we link back the communities that have lost their transport network because of the flooding exercise. So for the amount for now, we will not be able to tell you the exact amount because it's still work in progress. We have to look at what actually happened, get the report before I'll be able to make any commitment of how much can be spent on that.
All right. Let's talk about what happened in Kapam in Chikun local government area, where we understand there was a chemical spill at the Kaduna refinery. Of course, lives have been impacted, people's health have been impacted. Maybe you can give us an update as to what the intervention of government is as far as that is concerned, because it's also an environmental issue besides all of the flood.
Thank you so much. Yes, actually, there was some gas leakage emission in Kaduna refinery, which affected a community called Kapam community in Chikun local government in Kaduna State. The community is living close to the refinery, and the state governor immediately asked us to go and find out, investigate what happened, and then come up with measures on how to bring support to the community. We went there on the spot assessment together with Nostra team in the state, with immediate staff from the Ministry for Environment, staff from the Environmental Protection Agency. We went to the community. We saw on the spot assessment of what actually happened there. Thereafter, we moved to Kaduna Petroleum Refinery Company to start with the management team, and they explained to us what actually happened there. It was a discharge of chemical as a result of a leakage from one of their pipes. Like you know, the refinery has been down for such a very long time, so there was rusting and it led to the leakage. And unfortunately, after the leakage, rain fell and the chemicals fell on the crops living within the community, and that led to the community losing their livelihood. We discussed a lot with the Kaduna refinery, and they promised they are going to pay compensation to these communities. As a result, what we did, we immediately ensure we deployed together with our sister Ministry for Health, deployed health agency staff and doctors, nurses to the community where the people were tested, and those that were found to have one or two elements were moved to Borno Teaching Hospital, and subsequently now already all of them are back to their various communities and their health. Secondly, the local government was instructed to do what they are doing, was to ensure that the state can hook up to the people by providing them with food items and other issues, other things that they need. Equally, the state government under FEMA have taken relief to such communities. So now we are working by end of this month. Kaduna Refinery has promised that they will come with figures and paid compensation to the community. We'll ensure we follow up with them and justice in the community. Apart from that, we discuss on what do we need to do with CIPC so that such will not occur again. They told us it was an accidental issue. It's not something that they should see coming. And we hope next time such will not happen again.
I'd like you to speak to the impact of this on security as well, or insecurity, as the case may be. We've heard that consistently these communities are attacked, people kidnapped, and the rest. So you imagine what flooding will then do, particularly to bandit enclave. Is that something that the government is reaping from? Is this flooding also displacing bandits, and maybe some of them are surrendering, or it's not touching their enclaves?
Well, I think that is the question that we go to the security people. But the little I can see, for now, it's not specifically issue that the bandits are surrendering because of the flooding or because of the rainfall. Like they have their own tactics that they use, and equally, there are people that are smart. So, as I said, what we are doing, we are only focused on ensuring that wherever they are, we follow them and do what is necessary together with the security team so that they can be dislodged, and that's the best respect we give. But we've not experienced any issue of surrendering because of the weather or flooding that the state is experiencing at the moment.
Right, because one would hate to think that the flood is being selective in areas that it's touching, leaving bandits enclaves and flooding, farmlands and the rest. But we'd like to thank you so much, the Commissioner for Environment, Kaduna State, Mr. Abubakar Buba, for the update, and wish you the very best. And we hope that government is able to, be more proactive in the coming days, as you've said. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Now that we have a sense of what's playing out in Kaduna, let's head over to Borno State, where we'll be getting some live updates for you from our correspondent, Ayola Kasim. That's the moment. Stay with us. Well, the situation in Borno State would forever leave a mark, particularly for the people there and those who witnessed it as well. So let's just give you a sense of how life may be picking up back or not for the people in Maiduguri. Our correspondent, Ayola Kasim, has been covering the situation. I know it's been a long few days for her, telling the stories, going there. She's back in Lagos now, but of course, there's still a lot of closure to be gotten for the people of Borno State. Well, Ayola, good morning. It's good to have you on the show. Welcome back to Lagos. I imagine you've had some little time to rest, but looking back and still speaking to your contacts, people you met with there, what are you gleaning, and what is the outlook like for the people of Borno, at least from where you left off?
Good morning, Kayode. It's good to be back in Lagos, really. The thing is, from what we've seen, from what we've heard, the number of casualties, we can't still put an exact figure to it. So yesterday, we still couldn't get the exact number because as water is receding, we are being told that more and more people are being found. Number of deaths might have increased. We are not certain. We hope not. But that's what we're told, because as you get closer to where the water had been, where the unreachable parts, as you reach them now, you're seeing that things are really, really, the true nature of what happened is hitting home. Is when the water recedes that you get the actual, the complete figure, complete picture of what happened within the last 1 week. So that's what, but going around the city, seeing the level of devastation, really, some people, they might not make it back. It was really, really terrible from what we saw. And what was even jarring, for me, you see some people, humanitarian agencies, even their offices, like the last story that we did, you could see drugs, grains for people to help them. They're just rebuilding their lives because from the insurgency, they're just doing that. And you could see that the things that the supply for them is now being completely destroyed by the flood. And all this we could get when the water receded. You could see all these things. I mean, till Saturday night, we were there with people in Maiduguri.
Ayola, perhaps you can provide us with an update on the state of things at the camps, the IDP camps. The last we heard from you was that, the relief was getting to them in trickles. And then the governor had, of course, also explained that there were people who did not necessarily require relief, but were going to the camps all the same to register. So has that situation been sorted out, and have they begun to get more relief in the IDP camps?
Well, I think that coordination is getting better. From the visual that you showed earlier, you could see one woman holding a small piece of card. Now they've grouped them into families. I mean, the Commissioner for Education, who is in charge of feeding, said as much the last time, that when you come back next week, tomorrow, which was the following day when we saw this woman carrying food on her head. She's a family representative, and then there are a number of cards with them. So when she put the food down, then each member of the family now has a card with their name on it. So they will call you, and then you get your food. But of course, people are still like, when we got to this place, when she put the lady that was praying for us, people were complaining that she's not an IDP. And we're like, and then there's another lady, she was there, she was like, oh, my children, they're not here. I just want to be here. And the commissioner was asking her, why would you leave your children? Why shouldn't you go? Why couldn't you go and meet your children where you are? And she started smiling. You see, even when you show people that there is, there's more to be, when they put in all these checks and balances, human beings, some of them still look for a way around it. But then I think from the first day we went there, the second and third day that we went back, there's been a bit of coordination in what's going on there.
Ayola, thank you so much. I know that the stories never leave reporters, so thank you for the reportage, the coverage, and for giving us more in this. We'll be speaking with Channels TV environment correspondent Ayola Kasim. Thank you once again. Well, while we keep our eyes on what's playing out across the country, it's a public holiday, right? So it's a time for you to relax. Don't forget, Monday has been postponed till tomorrow, so work begins tomorrow. But that's where we anchor, right here on the Morning Brief. Thank you so much for being a part of today's show. Again, happy Eid al-Maulud to our Muslim brothers and sisters. We wish you all of the blessings of a celebration. I'm Kayode Okikulu.
Well, our thoughts and our prayers are definitely with the people of Borno State at this time, having gone through insurgency and then flood. Well, we hope that the relief goes round and long-term relief also gets to them. Thank you for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow. I am Bukola Koka.
Thank you for watching. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Bye-bye.